Breaking today, an astonishing development in the case of Emmanuel Macron and his trans wife, Brigitte, with the women who claimed that the French First Lady was born a man being cleared of defamation. Now, this has resulted in, well, I guess, a huge blow-up in the growing feud between Piers Morgan and Candace Owens on this issue, with the uncensored broadcaster raising the stakes of his bet with Candace over this to $300,000. So let me take you through the exchange between Candace and Piers after this news was revealed last night. Candace wrote, "Piers Morgan owes me $150,000 and I am ready to collect. It was never defamation. It was a witch hunt. Legally speaking, the only proof Brigitte Macron is a woman is her word that she is. There is tons of proof, however, that she lived as a man before becoming Brigitte." And our very own Father Calvin Robinson, totally behind Candace on this, he posted, "Seems a lot of people owe Candace Owens an apology." But Piers Morgan just ain't having that, because he responded writing, "We only have your word for it, that you're a woman. As for your ludicrous and very hurtful to her and her family claims about Brigitte Macron's biology, today's court ruling, as you know, is irrelevant. So let's make it $300,000 if you can afford it." But is Piers Morgan really right to say that this court ruling is irrelevant, given that Brigitte Macron and her lawyers have admitted this, by the way, is completely devastated by the decision? So I'm just going to take you through exactly what happened in this French court. Here's the report. 2 women convicted of defaming French First Lady Brigitte Macron by saying she was born a man were today sensationally cleared on appeal. Judges sitting at the Paris Appeal Court on Thursday ruled that Amandine Roy, a 53-year-old clairvoyant, and Natasha Ray, 49, and a blogger, had every legal right to make the sulphurous allegations. Both had claimed they were subjected to intimidation by the authorities as ultra-protected members of the Paris establishment tried to cover up a state secret. Lawyers for the 72-year-old Ms. Macron, in turn, indicated that she was devastated by the development and would be taking the court to France's Cassation Court. Ms. Macron is currently returning from a state visit in Britain with her husband, so is not in court today to hear today's judgment. Ms. Roy and Ms. Ray had appeared on a 4-hour YouTube video in December 2021, in which they claimed that Brigitte was in fact born as a baby boy called Jean-Michel Chagnoy in 1953. This is in fact the name of Brigitte's brother, and Ms. Macron was called Brigitte Chagnoy before her first marriage. The defenders also claimed that Brigitte's first husband, André-Louis Augiard, had never actually existed before his reported death in 2020, aged 68. A sitting judge in Normandy originally fined the 2 women the equivalent of £1,700 each after finding them both guilty of libel. Following earlier appeals, Roy's fine was reduced to £850, while Ray had £1,300 of her £1,700 fine suspended, meaning she only had to pay £400. Now, neither will have to pay anything, but here's the key line. They will be able to repeat the allegations against Ms. Macron. Maud Marion, the defence barrister for Roy, said, "We're acquitted," while Francais Danglehart for Ray also expressed great pleasure in the judgment. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favour, click the subscribe button now, turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos. So look, this is huge. As far as I can see, it is a major victory for freedom of the press. It is a major victory for freedom of folk like me and folk like Rob Moore of the Disruptors podcast on YouTube, to be able to have these difficult conversations and not be controlled by the deep state. And actually, I wish the British courts would look at this and allow some real journalism to take place. So, Rob Moore, firstly, who's right here? Piers Morgan or Candace Owens? Because this is a serious bet now. $300,000 is on the table.
Dan, you love to put me in these positions. So I don't know that there's any proof that Brigitte Macron is a man. And I did some research to try and see if there is actual proof. And I couldn't find any. And that is important if that's the topic. I agree that we all should be able to speak freely. And I think it depends, this YouTube, this 4-hour video, how it was, if it was suggestive or if it was raising questions. I think that that's one thing. If it's accusatory and if it's defamatory, that's something else. Dan, you may not have me back on your show again, and normally we agree, but I'm actually going to go with Piers Morgan on this.
Good, we'll argue.
All right, well, let's argue then. Here's why, because there's no proof that she's a man, and that's the basis of their bet. And Candace Owens, I am just with you.
I mean, look at those pictures, Rob. It's not proof, but come on. Come on.
I'm with you on free speech, and I'd fight free speech to the death, probably.
Yes.
But Candace Owens has gone a bit on the conspiracy on some issues. Until there's proof she's a man, I'm with Piers Morgan.
See, my view, so number one, my view on the whole conspiracy thing is I think, honestly, if you look at the past 5 to 10 years, and I mean, we've spoken about this a lot on your podcast in the past, Rob, if you look at the last 5 to 10 years, yesterday's conspiracy is tomorrow's fact. So I actually take it as a compliment now if someone describes me as a conspiracy theorist, and I think Candace Owens feels the same way, actually. But on this story, what is so fascinating is that there would have been so many ways for this to be cleared up, so many ways for this to be cleared up. And she's never done so. She has never done so. Why are sources close to the US president, Donald Trump, getting involved and trying to get Candace Owens to tone down her coverage if there really is nothing there? Why do they care if there's really nothing there, if there's really no truth to this? Then you look at their relationship in the first place anyway, Rob, and you're like, this is completely effed up. Like, she was his teacher. Okay, so it's like a pedophilic relationship anyway. That's really weird and that most people would think was socially unacceptable. And then, did you see these pictures, Rob? These pictures the other day when they were getting off the plane and they didn't realize that the door had opened. And she's literally ripping him to shreds, slapping him. I mean, at the very least, you must admit there is something seriously wrong and effed up in this relationship. But first, if you're anything like me, you've spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realize you've been neglecting the skin on your neck. But as I've got older, I know that's a massive oversight because the neck is on display all the time, yet lots of folk just treat it as an afterthought in their routine. And I know I'd fallen into that trap. And what's been interesting actually is since starting this campaign with Go Pure, I've spoken to many in our Outspoken audience, many women who tell me that they know the skin on their neck is thinner, more delicate and less oily than facial skin, and they need specialized care, but they just don't know where to get it from. And so I have to say, that is why Go Pure is the answer. It is an absolutely beautiful product. This is the Go Pure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream. And it's transforming the lives and necks of women and some men too, all across the globe. So let me tell you about this gorgeous product because I saw a noticeable difference within just weeks. Oh, and by the way, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure if you use the code DAN, that's DAN, at checkout today. So just head to gopure.com/Dan, use code DAN, and you're all set. But what's so amazing about Go Pure is that its proprietary firming complex is actually designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. In a consumer study, 100% of users said their skin looked more supple, 97% noticed a firmer appearance. Indeed, GoPure's full line of science-backed skin and body care have delivered for over 100,000 real women with real results. It's dermatologist recommended, cruelty-free, plus with over 1 million jars sold. I don't think you can say this is a beauty secret anymore, right? Because it's not a secret, if you get what I'm saying. So, tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. And for that limited time, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off GoPure using the code DAN, D-A-N, at checkout. Just head to gopure.com/Dan, use the code DAN, and you are all set. Quick favor too, after you buy, when they ask you where you heard about GoPure, make sure you tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Okay, so I don't know how relevant it is, the gender of the original gender, the sex of the husband or wife of a politician, because I think that's their business. Until it affects affairs, that's my view. You do what you do behind closed doors. You be with who you want to be with. That's my view. Now, yeah, that slap was something else. I mean, that's obviously very bad optics. It makes him look bad, and yeah, it's not good. Like that's abuse. She whatever has abused him. She slapped him. It's not good.
And what about, Rob, like, if we just turn the tables on this for 1 second, okay? So just say your daughter was 15, okay, 15 years old, and she had a male teacher who was 40. And within a year, they were shagging, they were in a relationship. I mean, that would be considered, that would be considered grooming, wouldn't it? And it would be considered completely unacceptable. And that is what happened. I mean, that is what happened because it was 1993, I believe, when they first met. And Brigitte Macron was a 40-year-old drama teacher. Emmanuel Macron was a 15-year-old student in her class. The relationship developed when Emmanuel was 16. Although they claimed initially it was platonic and centered around their interests like literature and theatre, and it only actually became romantic once he turned 18. I mean, come on, Rob. Look at the complete outrage when there was a very, very similar situation here in the United Kingdom between Philip Schofield and one of his young staff members, the young runner on This Morning. This woman was his teacher. I mean, is it different? I'm just putting the question. I'm not actually trying to do moral outrage. I'm just putting the question. Is it different because he was the man and she was the woman? Does that change the dynamic in some way? Because I don't think it would be considered socially acceptable if it had been a male teacher grooming a 15-year-old female student in that way.
Wow, Dan. This is Friday afternoon. Come on. Okay, right. I mean, there's black and white in law, isn't there, around the legal age to be able to have sex. So that is the black and white. So that's that part. If it was my daughter, I wouldn't like it one bit, just telling you. So I'll be honest about that. And yeah, if it was the other way around, I think it would probably be more of a scandal. I agree.
Yeah. It's interesting. So, what do you? I mean, it is fascinating because, given you're operating in this, independent media space, it is fascinating, isn't it, to see how, I guess, there are these two schools developing on the so-called right. I mean, I guess I would view Piers Morgan actually as lefty, but a lot of people put him in this anti-woke group, and yet I'd argue he's much more traditional in his approach. Right? He follows, I guess, the more sort of establishment line, the mainstream media line, the sort of let's trust the expert line. And then you've got Candace, who is doing, I think, really brave stuff. As I say, I don't agree with her on everything, certainly not on the Middle East, but she is pushing boundaries. And both are thriving, actually, in this independent media space at the moment. What do you make of it?
Well, I like independent media because it challenges mainstream media or social media. So in a way, social media is kind of becoming the new mainstream media in a way, and all mainstream media is pumping media through social media. And, you know, my show is called Disruptors. And in the business world, you have these startup entrepreneurs and businesses that disrupt the big, lazy behemoth businesses that aren't serving us well anymore. You need disruptors. You need challengers. And so independent media, people who have not being controlled, who can, you know, even if I don't agree with them, Dan, if they're independent, I think it's really good. And it's the only way. It's like with capitalism, you have free markets where, you know, you go in and offer products and services, and the market decides on the price because you've got competition, and the market decides if there's demand for it. And it's the same with independent media. It comes and challenges mainstream. Mainstream media needs to be broken. You know, that stuff you said about, you know, all these paedophiles who have been working in the BBC for decades. And it's not just the two you mentioned. I mean, that's completely wrong. Candace Owens, I don't agree with everything. I agree with some things. Andrew Tate, I don't agree with everything. I agree with some things. Piers Morgan blocked me on X.
What was that for? Did you challenge him over the COVID madness?
No, I mean, he completely U-turned on that, and he was terribly, I think, misinformed, and like, you know what he's like.
But he was awful over that whole period. I mean, really, really awful. But why did he block you?
I think so. Because Lawrence Fox called him out on my show, and then I published it on X, and so but I don't have I'm pretty cool not agreeing with everyone. I think actually, do you know what? Here's somewhere, I'm going to end on something that hopefully is a bit positive, Dan.
Good.
I think we all need to learn how to disagree better.
Yes.
So, you know, we're friends. I shouldn't judge you if we don't agree.
100%.
I shouldn't judge others if we don't agree. I need to be challenged. You need to be challenged. So if the world learned to disagree better, I think it would be a much better place.
I think you're so right. But I do think it's something that the independent media does much better, actually. Like if you compare Joe Rogan's debate between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray, which lasted a couple of hours and was fascinating, was very respectful, actually. Compare that to some ludicrous 5-minute clash on woke ITV where they're purposely trying to make the person on the right look like an idiot. You know, like that. I think we are better in this space because we have the time to do it. Rob, just quickly, who do you have coming up on Disruptors? Who can we look out for in the coming weeks?
I just interviewed Ruby Wax actually yesterday. She's amazing.
Her. She's a big time lefty now, isn't she?
If I just interviewed everyone on the right, Dan.
No, look, I will watch that. I like her. Yeah. I'm not saying you shouldn't interview her because she's a big time lefty. I'm interested by that. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And we have got some other big guests coming up, but I can't say those right now. But obviously it'll be there on Disruptors.
Absolutely. And you must subscribe to Disruptors on YouTube. Rob Moore, have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.